This is Dena, welcome to the Den. Admittedly, I've pretty much never picked up a Batman or a Catwoman comic, but I've always considered myself a Catwoman fan just because I like seeing her portrayed in the media. I watched the old series when I was a kid.
I'll do everything I can to rehabilitate you.
Marry me.
Everything except that.
Then when I grew up, it was Batman Returns.
Who are you? Who's the man behind the bat?
Then came the animated series.
You can't deny there's something between us.
You're right. And I'm afraid it's the law.
At this point, Catwoman was becoming pretty popular, had her own comic, which also went through a couple incarnations, and finally her own movie. And it was just the best. I can't keep this up. Okay, the movie sucks, but I'll talk about it anyway. Happy April Fools. I guess this is my punishment for that E.T. stunt I pulled with pixels as big as cats a few years ago. Anyway. Yeah, this movie is bad. Really, really bad. Not even so bad it's awesome, but so bad it's horrible. I could spend forever just talking about how many levels this movie utterly fails on. But it does have kind of an interesting history behind it. So Batman Returns came out in 1992, and it was amazing. I won't say too much about it because I plan to do a video on it one of these days, but it is one of my favorite Christmas movies. I watch it every year. Tim Burton had an interesting take on Catwoman. Traditionally, she's a thief who walks the line between villain and anti-hero. Meanwhile, she and Batman have an undeniable attraction to each other, causing some interesting tension. He kept all that, but he gave her some added dimension. Selina starts off as terribly repressed and, no pun intended, mousy. But she ends up discovering something she wasn't supposed to, and her boss has her killed. But she comes back to life. Well, okay, not really, but I'm gonna talk about that later. She explodes into the ultra-sexy and dangerous Catwoman.
Hear me roar.
Her costume is actually meant to symbolize the fact that she's falling apart emotionally and mentally, but is just barely managing to hold herself together, exactly the way her costume does. As the movie goes on, the costume begins to fall apart just as her sanity does, leading to a tragic end. It's very dark and poetic. I do love the whole movie, but Catwoman's part is just beautifully done. She is a very complex and sympathetic character. And of course she survived in the end because they had to know they were going to do something more with this character. Originally, there was going to be a spin-off movie for Catwoman. It would have been directed by Tim Burton and starring Michelle Pfeiffer. A true sequel/spin-off of Batman Returns. The script for it does exist online, and it's not as good as it sounds. Basically, Selina, having healed from the injuries she suffered at the end of Batman Returns, but with convenient memory loss about how she got those injuries and everything about being Catwoman in general, moves to a new city where there's a group of villains who pretend to be heroes. I think they secretly start trouble, then show up to put a stop to it in a stereotypical superhero kind of way. It's all a big scam of some kind, which everybody falls for. The leader is called Captain God, like that wouldn't offend anybody. Catwoman regains her memory and has to stop them. Meanwhile, there's this disturbing background story going on involving women being abused and betrayed, and they all go nuts and become Catwomen. There is an entire population of Catwomen in this story, and they go around just trashing the city. And they try to be all cute about it, like there are these 3 teenage girls who are referred to as the 3 little kittens. Some bride is left at the altar, so she cuts up her wedding gown to make a Catwoman costume, so she's called Cat Bride. Another one is this obese lady who is referred to as the gargantuan Catwoman. It's just really, really weird. And it's one of those stories that tries to be all feminist, but it misses the mark so far, it basically ends up going in the opposite direction. I mean, basically the message they're sending here is, women deserve your respect, because they might snap and kill you. And don't even get me started on an army of Catwomen. For some reason, they really wanted to push the idea that any woman can be a Catwoman even back then, pretty much taking away everything that makes Selina Kyle unique. But yeah, the script is basically terrible, which is probably why it went into development hell for several years. Eventually, Tim Burton and Michelle Pfeiffer were dropped from the project, and the story changed where they considered having Catwoman in this movie be Selina's daughter. At one point, there was a rumor going around that she was going to be played by Ashley Judd. Then it disappeared until this little gem started making its rounds on the internet, along with an announcement saying that Halle Berry was to play Catwoman. Honestly, when I first saw this, I thought it was a hoax. Not only did the costume look ridiculous, but Halle Berry had just played Storm in the first 2 X-Men movies. Seemed odd that she'd play another comic book character so soon, and, you know, what happened to Ashley Judd? It was posted on Superhero Hype, and the movie got its own forum, which led to me posting there for a while. For some weird reason, I took an interest in following this movie as it came to be. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. I just couldn't look away. And this was the only forum I'd ever been to where stating that you liked the subject of it could be considered trolling. Good times. And after all the time I spent watching all this play out and discussing it with people, I had to see the finished product, so I watched the stupid movie when it came out, and here we are. Well, I guess I procrastinated long enough. Let's do this. One thing I'm not gonna do is lay into Halle Berry too much. Sure, she's picked some really bad roles, but she's picked some good ones too. To be honest, I just haven't really seen enough of her to really form an opinion. I've seen this, the X-Men movies, and Gothica, which I didn't dislike. It was okay. I didn't really like her portrayal of Storm in the first X-Men movie, but she did a lot better in the second, and even better than that in the third. I'm not saying it was a great movie, I'm just saying her performance had improved. I just don't get the seething hatred that people have for this woman. I just feel like it's kind of played out. In any case, she certainly isn't 100% to blame for this movie. To hear some people talk, you'd think she wrote the script, directed the movie, designed the costumes, and did the catering. And I guess I'm procrastinating again. Okay, let's get started. First, we're treated to a montage of cat women throughout history, and pretending for a minute that I don't know anything about the source material, it's actually kind of cool. It's one of maybe 4 or 5 minor things about this movie I actually like to some degree. Granted, some of these images are pretty hokey, but they do a good job of reflecting the time period they're supposed to be from. Oh god, I think poor Bob Kane just spun in his grave. We all owe that man an apology for this. A movie this bad has to have been forged from the evils of all mankind. We're all to blame in some way. Here's someone we can blame, Denise Denovi. If her name sounds familiar, you're probably a Tim Burton fan. She's the producer for a lot of his movies. Almost seems like a betrayal that her name is attached to this travesty. She was also one of the people involved who defended it. I lost a lot of respect for her when that happened. Oh, and here's 3 words you don't want to see at the beginning of your movie. We'll get back to him later. The movie opens on the corpse of our main character, Patience Phillips. Yuck. Could be worse. Originally she was going to be called Patience Price. You can tell how much Pitof really knows about comic books. He's probably one of those people who figures Silver Age comics represent comics overall.
The day that I died was also the day I started to live. But that comes later.
So our heroine, maybe that's what the people who made this movie were on, goes to the massive cosmetics company she works for where she's been called in to see the boss. And of course he's all petty and egomaniacal because he runs a corporation and everyone knows that big corporations are evil.
This is not even close to what I wanted.
The ad she designed for him wasn't the exact shade of red he wanted, so he nearly fires her, but gives her another chance due to the prodding from his wife, played by Sharon Stone, who I'm sure would end up being the big bad in this movie. That'd be way too obvious.
Oh, for God's sake, George. Let her fix it. She's good and you know it.
Yes, clearly she's the Picasso of magazine ad design.
Midnight.
Yes, he tells her to bring it at midnight. Not like the office would be closed, or I don't know, there'd be a top secret meeting going on about all the dangerous and illegal stuff they're putting in their product. Or, you know, how about email, since pretty much all print work is done digitally these days anyway? No, that'd just be stupid. That night, there's a loud party going on across the way, but she's too pathetic to do anything about it. Boo-hoo. At least call the cops, for God's sake. Yeah, here's one of the ways that they try to copy Batman Returns without knowing why it worked in the first place. Selina was pathetic, yes.
Honey, I'm home! Oh, I forgot. I'm not married.
But she knew she was pathetic, and in a way she even had kind of a quirky sense of humor about it. The effect was sad, but sort of cute.
What? How can anyone be so pathetic? Yes, to you I seem pathetic, but I'm a working girl. Gotta pay the rent.
Patience is just kind of a bore. She always looks like she's thinking, yep, I sure am pathetic. Oh well. This character is not compelling at all, and I don't give a damn what happens to her. She spots an Egyptian Mao cat. The next day the cat's still around and, oh boy. Now I'm sure you all know by now that I love cats and I am all for helping a cat when it's in danger. But not if you're very likely to get yourself killed while the cat could just hop out of danger anytime it wanted to. Seriously, it got itself up there, it can get itself down. This is not rocket science, lady. Oh, and no shoes even. Brilliant. Oh well, sooner she dies, the sooner this movie can progress and the sooner it'll end.
Whoa, easy. Hold on a minute. Wait. Whatever.
So this cop shows up and he thinks she's suicidal. She mentions the cat. He thinks she's crazy and imagined the cat. She tells him that the cat was really there. Just fucking help her, you idiot. Good lord. And he does, and it's needlessly dramatic. Yay. She has to rush to leave for work, and I'm pretty sure she leaves without her shoes and her wallet. Hey, stereotypical annoying gay guy!
Man sandwich, 12 o'clock. You're right.
I think the voice acting from Resident Evil would have actually improved this movie.
Oh my god.
Oh, and here's another thing to hate about this movie.
Detective Long. Tom.
God, that is such a good name. Tom Lone.
It takes the normally talented and adorable Alex Borstein and somehow makes her unfucking bearable.
Rhymes with cone, phone, bone. Not that rhyming's all that important.
I am not a big fan of Family Guy myself, but most of you would probably know her as the voice of Lois.
I gotta do my own hair.
Well, I'm glad we had this talk.
How's that?
But she was also one of my favorite people on Mad TV. Just watch some clips of her, and think about this. This woman has played probably hundreds of characters on a weekly show. That's pretty impressive.
One leg is Easter, one leg is Christmas. You come and visit me in between the holidays.
Oh, hey, sister. Slow night, huh?
Tell me about it. I'm all tucked in with nowhere to go.
I tell you, she look like a man.
Pam Anderson and Tommy Lee made that fakakta sex tape and somehow it got out.
Oh my god, yes, that was terrible. I mean, that Tommy Lee is some kind of camera hog, huh? I kept saying, more Pammy, more Pammy. Ooh, she is some piece of ass, huh?
Yet some casting director looked at her and said, she'd be perfect as the shallow, stereotypical, undersexed fat friend. Anyway, Patience and the cop, Tom Lone, hit it off really well, and he asks her out for coffee.
You make sure she gets there, right?
Yes, officer.
Down on you.
Oh, if I screw it up, you can throw away the key.
Don't encourage her. She stays late to adjust the hue of the red in that poster, but the messenger who is supposed to take it to her boss isn't able to make it because boo-hoo, Patience's life sucks. So she has to take it to him herself. The doors are locked. Gee, who knew? So she has to go around back where she sees this meeting in progress.
When did you grow a conscience?
I don't care that the FDA never saw the headaches and the nausea and the fainting spells. Those are symptoms I can live with. And with what we stand to make from consumers demanding their fix, I can live with it being addictive. But these side effects from the long-term studies...
Real conscience he's showing there. The headaches, fainting spells, and addiction are okay, but oh my god, it's got cosmetic side effects too? No!
Who's there?
Of course, Patience gets caught listening in to all this, and they send people after her. They chase her through a basement, then steampunk land. She ditches them, goes down into a waste treatment facility, and they lock her in. I'll say one thing for this scene. If this was a horror movie, I'd think this was pretty scary. That's a bad place to be stuck in. So the cats are going to show up in a second. I read on IMDb that they used 43 cats in this movie. I also read where Pitof said that they used real cats most of the time and only CG for the things that were impossible for real cats to do. Okay, so it's impossible to get a cat to turn its head back and forth and meow? Apparently getting a cat to walk is impossible too. Hey Pitof, ever heard of a tracking shot in a green screen? Oh, this is what the real cats are for. Apparently they can only get them to sit there and look at the camera. So yeah, that happened. So I'll bet you're wondering if she pulled an Andy Dufresne.
Who crawled through a river of shit and came out clean on the other side.
Well, she got the first part down. The second, not so much. Do I really need to point out how this perfectly symbolizes the movie? Oh yeah, and she has, like, cat senses, I guess. And she can move like a cat, and she sleeps on the furniture like a cat. Yeah, I keep waiting for her to start rubbing her face on all the corners of everything. Subtlety is not this movie's strong point. Oh, and she's clean now. I like to think that she licked all the crud off herself. That'd be real sexy. Well, why not? This movie has her doing just about everything else that real cats do, no matter how ridiculous it looks when a human does it. I guess next she'll sniff catnip and go crazy. So she finds that the cat is there, and so she goes to take it back to its owner.
Are you Ophelia Powers? Yes. Midnight.
I'm sorry.
Her name. She's an Egyptian Mao. The rarest of breeds. Temple cats. It's said that Maos have special powers. Socrates. No caffeine. It makes him irritable. You look a little out of sorts yourself, my dear.
I can't even remember most of yesterday.
Perhaps I can help you.
Really, I'm late for work. I'm sorry. I shouldn't even...
You should come back anytime. I'm always here. Catnip.
Called it. So what it comes down to is that she died, she was brought back to life by cats, and now she's part cat or something. Hey, that's just like Batman Returns! Except that it isn't. So let's talk about Batman Returns. Selina appears to get killed and brought back to life and ends up with cat-like abilities and 9 lives. But here's what really happens. Selina gets pushed out a window, falls through several awnings which slow down her fall, and lands in the snow, which acts as a cushion. She's not dead. She just hit her head and is more or less insane from this point on. The cats merely wake her up by biting her fingers and such. If you think about it, every time she takes a potentially fatal fall, there's something that breaks it or cushions the landing. And when she's getting shot by Shrek, he probably just misses anything vital. Granted, in reality, a lot of what happens to her probably would be fatal, but Tim Burton, bless his weirdness, tends to go by movie logic and borderline cartoon logic. Or hell, maybe even comic book logic. It's based on a comic book, so why not? Granted, the ending kind of ruins this theory. I don't know how she could have survived the electrocution, especially considering what happened to Shrek. I'd like to think that there was some executive meddling involved, and they decided at the last minute to reveal that Catwoman was still alive in the end. I also don't know how to explain the acrobatics. Maybe Selina was a gymnast at some point in her life and drew from those abilities? But again, movie logic. But ending aside, I think it's pretty clear what really happens to Selina. She doesn't die and come back to life with magic powers. She just hits her head and ends up with brain damage.
Who'd have thought Selina had a brain to damage?
And even if you don't agree with this, I'm sure you can admit that it's at least a valid theory. But Pitof took Batman Returns purely at face value, decided to crank everything up to 11 and have his character blatantly die a violent death and get brought back to life by a magic cat. This is literally what happens, and nothing is left open to interpretation. Way to miss the point. So Patience goes back to work.
What the hell is wrong with you, Phillips? You never delivered the design. You do not, in fact, even know where they are, and you do not know where they are because, and I quote you, you cannot remember. Your incompetence is staggering.
I'm sorry.
Sorry's not nearly enough.
Okay. Then let me try the remix.
I'm just keeping it real, dog.
I'm sorry for every second I wasted working for an untalented, unethical egomaniac like you.
Clean out your cubicle. You are fired.
Her boss doesn't even know about what happened, so this scene is missing the eeriness of the scene where Selina confronts Shrek.
Selina. Selina.
That's my name, Maximilians. Don't wear it out or I'll make you buy me a new one.
It's just Patience finally telling off her boss, who, by the way, is no Christopher Walken.
Selina Kyle. You're fired. And Bruce Wayne. Why are you dressed up like Batman?
My hero.
These people are pathetic. If they think this guy is such a tyrant, why are they working for him? It's not like they're slaves or somehow being forced to work there. After hissing at some dogs...
I'm sorry. What was that?
Allergies?
A scene that someone found funny enough to put in the trailer, by the way. I wish I was joking.
I'm sorry. What was that? Allergies?
She stops to admire a gaudy piece of crap in a jewelry store when... Oh dear God, not Sally!
Upside, you gotta see my doctor.
Okay, I can see you're feeling better.
Reminds me, what's up with the hot yet modest, but who cares because he's so hot detective?
Yeah, she's in the hospital after having passed out in the street, but she's still obsessed with every detail of Patience's love life because she doesn't have one of her own. See what I mean? Cut to Tom giving a sappy pep talk to a bunch of kids because he's just oh so perfect.
I want something different for you. I want something better. You understand?
Yeah. Can I see your gun?
No. You know what makes somebody...
Will you shoot it?
No.
Okay, I'll admit that bit was cute.
I want you to be the good guys. You got it?
Yeah.
Let's go shoot some hoop.
Patience shows up with a cup of coffee with sorry written on it because she had missed their coffee date the day before because she was too busy learning how to use her litter box or something. I would leave out this bit, but the silly cup actually becomes important later. So here comes the famous one-on-one scene. Back when they were promoting this movie, one of the images circulating on the internet was a shot of Patience and Tom playing one-on-one. And interviews with people involved with the movie described it as being flirty and fun. And I'll admit, as bad as the rest of the movie looked like it was going to be, this scene had the potential to be really cute. Meanwhile, another one of the very few things about this movie I like is a song from the soundtrack. I'm not normally a fan of R&B, but they played a song called Scandalous from a group I'd never heard of called Mystique during the trailers, and it grew on me pretty quick. I got the MP3 and it instantly became one of my favorite songs, and I was wondering how they were going to use it during the movie. And it just so happens that it ended up playing during the one-on-one scene. So there's this cute scene with an awesome song. Let's see how that turned out. What the hell is going on? This is like a Nike commercial or something. Oh, and the awesome music that's supposed to be the theme song of this movie, more or less? Not only do they butcher it, I'm pretty sure they speed it up, too. You can't even tell who's winning until the end. Meanwhile, Laurel, that's Sharon Stone's character, is obsessing over the young model who's replacing her as more than just the spokeswoman for the company. Ow. Huh. Geez, has Patience turned into a cat or a pig? Just because cats like tuna doesn't mean they'll go through like 10 cans in one sitting. So she gets a call from her BFF and ends up climbing all over the house, supposedly without realizing it. Did I say pig? I meant velociraptor. Later, the people across the hall are still partying. You can still call the cops, you know. No? Okay.
Sorry, babe. Save the slumber party. However, in your case, I think I can make an exception.
I'm flattered.
So she goes over there, trashes the place, intimidates the guy. Yeah, I know he had it coming, but she didn't even try to take the high road. Apparently her only two choices were physically kicking the guy's ass or nothing. The former being preferable because violence is okay when it's female on male. Yeah, get used to that idea. You're gonna see a lot of it in this movie. So then she goes back home, chops all her hair off, and puts on the leather outfit her annoying friend and her gay annoying friend got her, gets on somebody's motorcycle, and speeds off. Yeah, apparently cats are able to go super fast on motorcycles and have disappearing and reappearing helmets. Who knew? She goes to steal the necklace she'd been admiring earlier and sees that there are robbers already in the store. Convenient. Welcome to the very brief scene in this movie where Catwoman actually acts like Catwoman. She's got a mask, she's got what could almost pass for a black bodysuit, and she's robbing a jewelry store. Stick some cat ears on her and you're done. Enjoy it while it lasts. And it's over. Bad CG killed the cat. By the way, you are not Eartha Kitt.
What a perfect idea.
She actually pulled off the purring in such a way that it actually sounded natural.
Like this spark plug, perhaps?
This just sounds awkward and so painfully forced.
What a perfect idea.
You're also not Michelle Pfeiffer.
Meow.
At least she seemed to be aware of how silly it was to make cat noises.
Meow.
Actually, this fight scene is about the closest we get to one that's comprehensible. If you think this is as bad as it gets, you're in for a very unpleasant surprise. She wakes up the next morning, realizes what she did, and decides to return all the jewelry save for one ring and the gaudy-ass necklace. Sure, keep the most expensive thing. Very noble of you.
I was one of a kind. From Egypt.
No, it wasn't. This was from Egypt. This movie bastardizes ancient Egypt almost as badly as Yu-Gi-Oh! Of course, she writes "sorry" on the bag. Brilliant move there.
Cupcakes.
Okay, the bit with the cupcakes is kind of funny. Sorry I robbed your jewelry store. Have some cupcakes on me. That'll help, right? Meanwhile, Patience does an internet search and finds all the images we saw in the opening.
Midnight.
Right, not like it could be some other Mao. No wonder they're rare. Apparently there's only ever been one in existence. So she goes back to see Crazy Cat Lady and...
I don't remember. Do you want me to tell you?
Yes.
You died.
Hey, Miss Know-It-All, you were not there, and Patience didn't tell you what happened. It's awfully convenient how these assumptions you're making are so accurate.
You died, but you were reborn.
Oh, you're crazy. You are a crazy cat lady.
Midnight knew your fate. That's why she tested you.
Once again, you were not there. What, was she outside in her car with a pair of binoculars that whole time or something?
Change your life and give you a new one. You're not alone.
Wouldn't it be funny if she was wrong about all that and ended up just causing Patience to break her neck? Now, if you look at these pictures closely enough, you'll find something interesting. Apparently this is supposed to take place in the same universe as Batman Returns. Whatever.
Catwomen are not contained by the rules of society. You are a Catwoman. So I'm not
Patience anymore?
You are Patience. And you are Catwoman.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
You saved my life, Midnight. But somebody killed me.
So she goes to find out who killed her, and here's where the shit really hits the fan. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you what I like to call C-No, Catwoman in name only. There is a lot wrong with this movie, but this costume is one of the worst offenders. But we've passed the half-hour mark, so it'll have to wait until part 2. Yeah, just my luck, this would end up being a two-parter. This is the part where normally I would warn you about spoilers being in part 2, but who cares about that with this one? I still recommend not watching the movie, though.